This is the Cholo News Report for Friday 16 February 2018. U.S. President Donald Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon, is interviewed as part of the investigation into alleged Russian meddling in the 2016 election. Mr. Mueller is leading an investigation into whether the Trump campaign colluded with Russia to influence the United States election. Investigators believe Mr. Bannon may hold crucial information on the Trump administration, including details on why former FBI Director James Comey was fired by the president. He appeared in front of the House Intelligence Committee as part of their own, separate, investigation into possible ties between the Trump campaign and Moscow. The United Nations report that in 2017, more than 10,000 Afghan civilians were killed or wounded in the war. The endless battle for power in Afghanistan, the blast in Kabul's diplomatic enclave, was the latest in a long line of attacks on the Afghan capital. In March, insurgents attacked an Afghan military hospital in Kabul's diplomatic district, killing 38 people and injuring more than 70 others, namely patients, doctors and nurses. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission blocks a China-held group of investors from buying the Chicago Stock Exchange. The SEC said that during its review, it was unable to obtain all the information it needed from the China-held group of investors, including details about how some of the entities involved in the deal were funded. The regulator said this raises significant doubts that it would be able to monitor the exchange if the deal went through. The acquisition had previously been cleared by a U.S. panel that vets foreign deals for potential national security concerns. The United Kingdom government and the United States White House accused the Russian military of being responsible for the launch of the NotPetya malware in June 2017. The White House calls it the most destructive and costly cyberattack in history, and says Russia will be met with unspecified international consequences. Russia denies responsibility and dismisses the accusation as groundless, lacking evidence, and Russophobic. The White House threat of consequences comes after the Trump administration decided earlier this year not to impose new sanctions targeting Russia. Former Manchester City and Crewe Alexandra youth coach Barry Bennell is found guilty of 43 sexual attacks on 12 boys between 1979 and 1990. Ex-Manchester City youth player Chris Unsworth, who was abused by Bennell when he was a scout at the club, stood alongside Mickey Fallon and Steve Walters as he read a statement. Boys were abused at his home, including a property in Derbyshire where he had arcade games and a puma, and a monkey on trips away, and in his car on the way to and from training, they said. The club said it was keen to speak to any survivor or witness to sexual abuse which might be connected to Manchester City, or which could support a review. It launched after the latest allegations were raised in 2016. Prime Minister of Bulgaria Boyko Borisov says that GERB, his party, will not ratify the convention, due to lack of support from political parties. The treaty was designed by the Council of Europe to combat domestic violence and violence against women, but critics say its language is vague. It could encourage youth to identify as transgender or third gender, and it could lead to same-sex marriage in Bulgaria. It also highlights widespread resistance among the more socially conservative countries of the former Eastern Bloc to the liberal values of wealthier Western Europe. Speaking to Bulgarian television station Borisov said that GERB would not proceed with the ratification of the treaty, also known as the Istanbul Convention, due to lack of support from political parties, including the nationalist United Patriots, its junior coalition partner.